Good evening. I guess this would be my eventide. More appropriately, atone and prepare for winter. Was deeply reminded when one of my reverends fathers passed away this month. Rocco's got a bottle, he's making noise, so he's happy. It has been 33 years since my father died on October 31st, 1991. "33 years is long enough." There's some stories, but first I ask forgiveness from my family, who the whole quagmire of stuff that happened after Dad's death. So many people with so many theories, with so much in ears trying to lay to peace. Forgive me for my pain, my insolence, my mouth. Always had one of those. It's taken me some time to put everything into perspective. If he gets too noisy, I'll have to take it away from him and give him something quiet, like a ball. From having read what the coroner said, what Dad's first cousin, Becky, who was married to Melvin, who operated Dylan's funeral home. It points more towards my father having committed suicide than any other thing. They're saying multiple trips from the bedroom to the bathroom, vomiting and diarrhea. Those are not cardiac symptoms. Those are symptoms of an overdose. The funeral was horrid. Reverend B.G. Wiggs. I hope he has to be in eternity with his memories and the truths that were behind his assumptions. My two housemates from Vegas did come down for the funeral, and I think that's the only way I made it through. Because as we exited the church, first I stayed behind with Melvin, doing all the things that Dad had taught me to do before closing a casket, making certain his glasses were off of his face. There were no flowers left inside. That when they lowered the body into the casket, that the lining was not touching the skin. And listened as Melvin cranked the casket closed, and it locked. Then walking behind the casket, with Ray and Rob right near me, and walking through a line on each side of Nazarene ministers, looking at me without a single bit of compassion. Halloween and I don't get along anymore. Being an empath, I knew something was coming up, so before Halloween I'd shaved my head, which I've come to realize is a warning from the inside of me that something is about to happen. Went out and celebrated Halloween with Rob and Ray. Had a good time. I've not celebrated a Halloween since. So Atonement, in asking forgiveness for my family. As I look back at both my mother and my father, it was after my stroke, long past their deaths. I was brave enough to go to LaRue Carter Memorial Hospital, the new location, and ask to see my files. As both parents were dead, I could see everything except for the treatment folder and doctor's notes. Though there is a Department of Defense stamp on all of my files. That's another story. As I was going through interviews of my mother and my father, when they both were asked the questions separately, well, why did you marry? Each one answered because they thought the other was compatible. Never the use of love. Explains a lot about my sibling and myself. Now I'm going to step back to right after Father's funeral. The church graciously, Southwest Indiana District Nazarene Church, gave 30 days for the parsonage to be emptied. But I got a burn barrel out. And I knew that Dad had personal files, and I started opening up his filing cabinets and getting rid of any files that he had kept on persons. Burning things that were no one's business. went up to my father's bedroom and opened a nightstand drawer. In it was my mother's sleeping wig and one of her nightgowns. She had died in 1981. My father and I had started having deep conversations about me. Also, I was planning on buying an old farm near Liberty Bell Church. He and I had gone out to look at it. A lane to the back, there were cornfields to the front. So it's set back in the woods, and just a distance off the backyard, it dropped down into a valley. A very peaceful location. A very old farmhouse built from green native timber. So it was as strong as could be. The insulation in the walls were corn cobs. That'll give you an idea of the age. But it had a tin roof. The lines were straight. No sag in the floors. Everything was wood inside, the walls, the ceilings. The chimneys were still in place. I was working as a flight attendant then, and had spent time earlier in 1991 at the parsonage with my father. There was a plan in place. He could have done revivals, and with what I was making as a flight attendant and such, it would have been a slow process, but very easy to run plumb and wiring and the way the house was built. It was 4 rooms down, 3 rooms up, and an extension off the back that was the kitchen. When you got to the top of the stairs, like Granddaddy Wilson, it was a small landing that all the doors led off of. No hallway. Hallways are a waste. "33 years. I've been able to forgive the Southwest Indiana district of the Church of Nazarene the best I can. I can't forget. They judged my father and his abilities by my being open. If that's not a heavy thing for a person to carry around, I don't know what. I've never entered a Nazarene church since. I'm afraid the doors would suddenly lock and flames would appear. And then they'd unlock and I'd walk out. But this is about atonement. As much as I am kind, I have also been very harsh, judgmental, but now, being older than either one of my parents achieved, in my calling, residing with Rocco, who gives me unconditional love. I apologize to my cousins for these lost decades. You can't just pick up again. You have to begin again. As much as I love my little cottage here in Brockloon, I'd love for it to be in the hills with 10 or 20 acres. My shopping habits wouldn't change. I basically do a monthly shop and monthly pharmacy. But with almost 300 years of family blood in the hills of southern Indiana, the hills feed my soul, just like creation does. And for those who understand, there are several positive vortex located in southern Indiana. Who knows? I might be able to see one of those elusive black panthers everyone talks of. I'm not worried about the grapevine holler monster or the tombstone that has links of chain appeared in the stone after it was set up. Or if you're driving at night, all of a sudden there's an old truck behind you with the lights on bright. There's magic in them thar hills. So Mark, Becky, Addie, I ask for your forgiveness. A situation we had no control over. That I'm going to leave at peace. For others who need to let things settle. Don't wait until you're in your 60s. Settle them now. It's fall, a season animals prepare for, plants prepare for, and we, as humans, prepare for our winter. Blessings be with all of you. Remember, be kind as much as possible. Good night.